Alright, welcome to today's weekly update. Today is 7/7/2025. This will be posted on Wednesday, 7/9/2025. What I'm going to do first is give the update, how am I doing, and then I have a topic like I usually do because I'm a teacher, how to find a caregiver. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting is I'm flip-flopping when we've recorded this. So you're gonna see me with my hair done in this video, and then in the next video you're gonna see it all right when I got done with doing my medical things. And I'll kind of talk about why that is in a minute. Alright, so if I kind of go through charts and things like that. Also in this one you're seeing me not use my oxygen, or in the other one you will see me use my oxygen. And again, I'll explain that in a minute. Weight, it's kind of interesting. I didn't realize how much weight I lost till I did the math just now. I think I was around 167 7 months ago, and now I'm at 120. So that's a 47-pound loss, which when I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, who is that person? And many times I do feel like I look like I am on hospice, especially when I don't do my makeup and my hair is up and all frizzy. But again, that's the raw and real of it. Eating. So eating, I have a very strict diet and things. I do write everything down in this little notebook, like I've said. On one hand, I have a schedule that I try to follow fairly strictly. And then on this side is other specifics, like extra medications I might have taken, maybe nausea medication, and then also everything I've eaten that day. And when I follow a super strict diet, it is having the benefits of being regular. So that's the good news. The good news is finally, after weeks of getting out of the hospital, today and kind of yesterday was the first time where my medical things, which is an enema, went normally. Yes, enemas can go not normal. So that's been really good. Also, when I eat, sometimes things feel like they get stuck in my throat a little bit, so I have to have like liquid to push them down. Also, my digestion is super slow, so a lot of times the food will just sit there in my stomach for quite a while. Remember, I don't move around a ton. I try when I can, but I can't move around a lot for very long. Plus, I do take morphine 3 or 4 times a day, actually 2 to 3 times a day, which can also slow things down. So sometimes the food will stay in my stomach a lot longer. It'll push up on my left rib, which is where a lot of the cancer is, and that will also cause a lot of difficulty breathing. So that's also where the oxygen comes into play. Let's see. Oh, walking. I can't even read my own writing. So I can technically walk on my own. It's not going to look like a normal person's walk. It might look like I'm kind of skating a little bit, you know, on my hardwood floors. I definitely have to use my cane. If I go outside, I'll use my cane and my husband or my son's arm to lean on as well. So I can technically walk on my own, but I do need some assistance. The other thing to kind of think about, okay, a couple things. Like I said, you're gonna see me 2 different ways in this video. Right now my hair is done. In the other video, I had just finished my medical things, the enema, taking a shower, and getting dressed. That's the biggest part of my day, and it really wears me out. Especially it hurts my back a lot. So I don't have time or energy even for somebody else to do my hair, because my caregiver has offered to do that. But by the time I'm done, I'm so exhausted, I just need to sit for like an hour or two. I might even nap, especially after lunch. And then later in the day, I still like to try to do my hair if I can, because it makes me feel better about myself. But it might have to be 2 or 3 hours later after I've actually done my bath, because I need time to recover to be able to walk and do things again. So I do try to get up and walk as much as I can, but it's not a lot. Also, gonna be raw, real, and honest as well. At night, I keep a little pee jug next to my chair. I tend to urinate more at night. I don't know if that's just because my body's relaxed. I have found that getting up and going to the bathroom 3-4 times a night might actually kind of wake me up more, and it's harder to go back to sleep. So I will use my pee jug like 2 or 3 times at night, then empty it out and sanitize it in the morning. That is something that people on hospice are gonna have to think about. Either I'm lucky that way because I have an ostomy, so I don't have to wear diapers or anything like that. And I did for a while because of the incontinence that the medication was giving me. But now that my medical things are back on track, I don't have to wear diapers anymore. Yay, that helps my mental health a lot. There may be a time in the future where if I'm immobile, I'm gonna have to have a caregiver help me do an enema in bed, and that won't be fun, but that's not now, so that's good. But that's something that if somebody goes on a hospice, they're gonna have to think about. I have heard that there are catheters for men and women as an option to diapers, where you would insert that and then it would have a drainage system. So that might be an option for people who are on hospice who can't move out of bed. So that's just something to think about in the future. Oxygen. I definitely wheeze a lot all the time now, and I need my oxygen, especially when my stomach is pushing on my lungs. I will need it more. When I'm done with this video, I'll probably go back on it again. You will see me on it in the next video as well, and I do wear it at night. I'm not on it 100% of the day, but I'm definitely increasing my oxygen use. And I also have my handy dandy nebulizer, and I do 3 of those treatments a day. So again, and then I also take Mucinex twice a day just to try to help with my breathing. All right, can you feel the cancer? Yes and no. I bet if I were to outline where I feel the cancer is, it would match up on a CT scan. Does it hurt? Yes and no. I would say that when my body's calm and everything, when I follow my strict schedule, when I follow my strict diet, when I listen to my body, it doesn't hurt as much, but there is discomfort, I'm not gonna lie. But the discomfort is the new normal. The thing is it doesn't really hurt. It's just more uncomfortable. But if I don't follow my strict schedule and my diet, and if I don't listen to my body, then I will have more pain. So there's that. So next what we're going to talk about is I definitely have to have more reliance on caregivers. So if I can get up and move around and do something myself, I will, because I believe trying to maintain, some sort of strength is important. Sorry, I'm having hiccups or something. But it's that fine balance between pushing myself and hurting myself. So if I'm already kind of hurting and exhausted, I will definitely rely on my caregivers more. If I've had like a couple hour window where I've rested and I'm not exhausted or tired, I'll get up and I will try to do it myself. With that said, the next section is going to be about how to find a caregiver, where I interview my current caregiver, Jess. And then after that, my husband and I thought of some things regarding FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, that we thought we would share, and anything else about being a full-time caregiver at home. All right, thank you. All right, in this week's update, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I wanted to talk about how to find a caregiver, because that was something that I had no clue about. Now, when you are in hospice, you do get a social worker, and the social worker kind of lets you know, what your options are. Now, if you've been following me for a long time, you might have heard me at the very beginning say, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to a nursing home. And I visited a couple nursing homes. There's one that I saw that I liked. And the reason of that was just like fear, to be honest, in regard to some of my complicated medical issues. One of the things that you have to know about a nursing home, though, is unless you're 65 and on Medicaid, you have to liquidate all your assets. You have to use your money to pay for it. And it's about the same price as like a hotel every night. So those are some things that you have to think about. I was told, and one of the things that I want to research this week is that some insurances, if you're not on Medicaid, might cover like a week or a month to give the caregiver a break.
Respite care?
Yes, respite care. So that's something that I'm actually going to be looking into just in case through my insurance. So that is one option, is a nursing home. The other option was a professional caregiver. Here in Illinois, my social worker recommended Starbright, and they actually had a very specific program for my kind of medical things that I would need help with. The thing that was, I think, cons, there were a lot of cons, is it was $175 a pop for them to come visit, and I might have needed them to come visit like 3 to 5 times per week. So do 175 times 5, do that over the course of time. That's a lot of money that we don't have. The other negative, I thought, is that they are professional nurses, which I suppose could be a pro. But the negative is they're nurses who have their own jobs. And so they're picking up these jobs kind of like extra pay, if you will, an extra shift. And so you would not get the same consistent person each time. The third option, I'm on my third now, was caregivers. And one of the options that my social worker brought us to was care.com. And I was lucky enough that I didn't even have to go on care.com, but that is an option. The other one is word of mouth.
She's not going to go on care.com.
Well, you'll talk about that in just a minute. But I was blessed because I had a friend who had someone who was experienced with caregiving. And it just worked out at the time where I said, hey, are you available to be my caretaker for a few hours in the summer? And she said she was. So this is Jess, and I'm gonna let her kind of talk about her experience caregiving, like why you like it and why you wouldn't want me to go on care.com.
So I'm Jess. I have been in healthcare since 2009. I've been a certified CNA since 2009, and the goal was always to become an RN. My education is in science of nursing, so I've been doing this for a long time. I've worked for facilities and I've worked for agencies, and Bright Star was an agency that I was going to work for.
Oh.
I notice, as someone who comes into homes and finds purpose in what I do and makes connections with the people that I care for, agency work is a little hit or miss when it comes to that stuff. Sometimes you'll have the same person, sometimes you'll have a different person. You don't always jive with the same people. Everybody's personality is different. I've had decent experiences with agencies and I've had not good experiences with agencies. From my experience, financially, I feel like the client could spend far less money and get better care if they were to hire a private duty caregiver, CNA, whatever, nurse, whatever we want to call it, and not have to spend $175 out of pocket when that person who you don't know, that stranger, is coming to your house and doing those intimate things for you. That person's only getting about 40% of that money anyway.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a rock and a hard place for both the client and the caregiver, professional, whatever we want to call that. So I have found the most successful, for me, part of my job is just doing private duty. We call it private duty. So we just kind of find, through networking, through word of mouth, really, we find our own clients, our own cases that need, whether it's extensive care or minimal care, or I've done everything pretty much under the sun that you can think of. My biggest case I took on in 2013, and it ended late 2014, and I ended up with 4 of her children after she did pass away from cancer. She was a very young mom, and I was gifted 4 children after that. And those are the things that I love. You create rapport. I feel like rapport isn't a good word because it's not as intimate as...
Yeah, I like that word, intimate rapport, maybe.
Yeah, sure. You get very close with the person that you're taking care of, especially if there's, anything you need to do where we're physically hands-on,
Yeah.
very, very close. And you want to be comfortable with someone who's doing those things for you, and you want to be comfortable doing those things for somebody else. So I have found the in-home work to be the most purpose-driven, the most rewarding. Facility work, it's great, but it's more about a paycheck. You don't build the close relationships. It's hard. It's hard. The home care is where it's at. Like, this is, I don't know how I can just keep repeating myself, but you build relationships. You build relationships with the family too. You're able to not, to be kind of the glue for everybody in a sense. You can help not just the client but the family as well, and kind of give them a perspective on things that they might not have thought about, or advice on some things or tips and tricks, it's just simple stuff like that this is new to them. And so I try every way I can with the experience that I have. I've been doing this for as long as I can remember, whether it was helping grandparents or all the way down to actually making an income doing it. And I just started in the school system just recently. So really I have been full-fledged in healthcare since 2009. So I've been doing this for quite a while. And I would choose home health over any of the other options.
And one of the things that I'm finding is, again, I said that I was so for nursing homes when I first started. And as I've been working with hospice, and as I've been lucky enough to find Jess and working with Jess, I've done a 180. I could never have in a nursing home what I have in my own home, which is comfort, peace, quiet,
Lights,
consistency, yes, the environment that I like around me, but then also extra time with my family, because they would have to come visit me, where here I have a lot of bonus time with my family. Like if I'm awake when my son comes home from work, sometimes we've had good conversations during that time that we never would have been able to have if I was in a nursing home. So I also agree that, caregiving is the way to go, and it also helps the main caregiver, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well.
I do think one thing to add on is I do think it's beneficial for the mental health as well.
Yeah.
Like we had spoken a little bit just about like physically being in the hospital bed and what that did to your mental.
Right.
And so when you're in facilities and we're in these types of homes and you are, seeing everything around you and just kind of getting a glimpse for things, even if it's not what you're dealing with, just a glimpse of
Right.
that point of view, it wreaks havoc on your mental health, I think. And you spend a lot of time alone. And
Yeah.
we're here, you can deny a visit, or you're like, hey, somebody come hang out with me, or
Right.
I think just all around the house is just, it can be heavy for those who are living with you, of course, but for you, I think it's for anyone who's in this situation, home is always.
And I think like what you talked about with the people in the home, and again, we can also add to that a little bit later as well. I think it's a wave, on one hand, because we've been together for 7 months, when I'm doing well and they can see me doing fairly well, then things are kind of up and we feel better. But then, when I'm down, that can be very hard on the family. But I believe, and we'll talk about that and bring in my husband later, that they would prefer that I was home rather than not too. So.
And the other flip side to that coin also is that your family members are who are actually paying attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
And just you. They don't have 12 other residents that they're rounding and other people that they're remembering. Okay, John did this and Jimmy looked like this and Betty wasn't doing so well today, where Jason is able to see you as a whole and then go, she's having a down day or she's having a great day.
Right.
And you can kind of go off of each other, and he can like, I don't know, Jenny, like today seems like a rough day, and you might think it's a great day, or vice versa even. You're not going to get that type of attention.
The other thing that I've said is the benefit of finding extra care, because I do have hospice and they only see me once a week. The thing with hospice is the same thing. They have so many patients in a day that I have to kind of twiddle my thumbs and wait around for them to
like
come.
A 4-hour wait time.
Which is fine. They generally give me about a time that they're gonna come, but that about a time could be anywhere from an hour to 2-hour wait.
Yeah.
And again, I get it, totally get it. I don't have to do that with you. 10 o'clock, she's here. I don't have to wait. So that's another benefit.
Yeah, with me, you know what you're getting. That's for sure.
Yes. Yes. So I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, I could ramble for the longest time, but I should, unless you have questions that I should like answer, but otherwise
Yeah, well, maybe what we could do is if you have questions, you can comment below and
I can answer them.
And we can answer them. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Alright, so this is my husband Jason that you met before. And I think one thing that we've learned about FMLA, what would we have done different?
I would have taken my leave of absence later. It's really hard to go through things and think, gosh, this is where it's hard and she needs all this extra help. And it was at the time, but in comparison to now, that was easy. And you're actually doing fairly well when you get adjusted to what your new normal is. So it's really hard to make that determination. And while I appreciate the hospice caregivers, one of the things that I'll be real blunt with is I do not like how they will not give us information, because it's honestly too hard for them to give an estimate on timelines for anything. So despite asking them repeatedly, is now a good time, they wouldn't give an answer. So hindsight is, if you think you can still do it, you shouldn't be taking a leave, or you shouldn't have a caregiver who's going to take a leave. Fortunately, I didn't use up all of my time. I was here for 5 weeks, and I canceled that leave and I returned to work. When you're filing for a Federal Medical Leave Act or Family Medical Leave Act, whichever one it's called, you have two options. One is continuous, where you're just out the entire time, up to a maximum of 12 weeks. Or you could do an intermittent leave, which is you still get 12 weeks, but that 12 weeks is 12 weeks worth of time that you may not need all the time. Maybe you only need to take off 1 or 2 days a week. Maybe you just need to be, have the freedom to do a medical appointment whenever it comes up. So you just tell your employer, hey, it's a leave day. Maybe you've chosen to work part-time. As a caregiver, you're still at work part-time and then you're at home part-time. Maybe you're doing half days, and that 12 weeks turns into 24 weeks of half days. So the intermittent leave at least gives you some flexibility. So I've actually filed for that, and all the paperwork is about to be sent in, so that if I need to, I can just easily take a day off and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I've got medical things to attend to, or my wife has issues, or today was hard, I'm taking tomorrow off. Whatever it is that you need that leave time for. So that's pretty difficult.
Yeah, I think if we had hindsight, we would have started with intermittent leave instead of continuous leave. With that said, every situation is different. Your family member might go into hospice when you do need to do continuous leave because they fought more to the end or whatever, right? And they don't have as much energy anymore. I went on a hospice early, so he probably could have done intermittent leave. In the beginning, I probably could have took care of myself a little bit better, but then there was a couple weeks or so where I kind of did need him around because I wasn't doing so good, and that's where the intermittent would have worked out really well. Also, maybe if I'm really lucky, I still kind of get paid until a certain date, so I still have my income. But let's say there's two people, and let's say once someone goes on disability and you lose a major chunk of that income, maybe your partner has to work. So intermittent leave would be great for that too. In addition to what we just filmed before this, you can also find a caregiver that could be home with you that is still a reasonable price and won't ruin your family's finances. So you can still have care, even if it's not the family member being around all the time.
I think a big point to remember is for a lot of people, they feel like they lose their vacation time. They burn up all their vacation time from their employer, all of their sick time. They feel like they can't take any time off. That's one of the things that is very helpful with that. It's intermittent leave in that it doesn't count as vacation time. It doesn't count as sick time. It is a medically protected leave. You get all the time you need up to 12 weeks to be able to take care of that family member. Now, the flip side of that is unless you have an amazingly generous employer, and that's pretty rare, it is an unpaid leave. When it's unpaid, you're not getting paid your salary or your wage. Your health insurance benefits, they're not getting paid. Any other monies that come out of your paycheck, whatever you have, things like 401k or anything like that, none of that gets paid. So you lose all of that. It's just something to keep in mind. The leave is really, really great. You do need to try to make sure you've planned your financial future such that you have some money to fall back on. It's an important reason why everyone says always try to have a couple months worth of savings if you can. But even if you can't, worst case scenario, your employer can't tell you no, you have to work because you're out of vacation or sick time. You can say, well, I filed for a leave of absence. I can take the time if I need to. So that's an important detail to protect yourself and be able to return to your job when your caregiving is done.
Yeah, and that's something I said in a previous video, and I think it's a good thing to mention in this one too. Everyone always thinks about retirement as, oh, we're gonna go on vacations, we're gonna get this motorhome, but they don't actually think about what if one of you gets sick. You're gonna need the money for that. You're going to need to, if you're not 65 years old yet and you can't get on Medicaid, you have to liquidate a lot of your assets first before you can actually get help from Medicaid. So that is something to keep in mind. It's not just fun and vacations and everything. You're also planning for what if one of us gets sick and we need help as well.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's about it, and we'll see you at the next update and see if there's any other topics I or we come up with.
Bye.
Thank you for your support.